it was going to cost us between $350,000 and $400,000, and it was going to take us 2 to 3 years. Now, fast forward to 2024, we finished this property up last year because COVID was such an issue. We couldn't get people in to fix things up. It just took us a lot longer and it cost more than we thought it would. But we're going to go with, as we build a tactical plan off of this information, kind of what we need to do. So remember, we're going to try and get all of this done in 2 to 3 years. We're bringing in $200,000 above what we needed to put into the reserve accounts to get some of this business underway. And then over years 2 and 3, we're going to bring in the other $150,000 or so. So here are the action items and so what I do when I go to figure out what I need to do is I'll just start out making a long list of what needs to be done with this property. Then I try and organize it. All right. So what I want you to see is that I actually have 3 colors here. So what I have done is I think we have 3 big strategic issues as opposed to tactical. So strategy kind of, for my mind, means if I want this property to be cash flowing and to do what the things that I think it does, that I have some strategic things that I need to take care of that are going to take more than a month or 2. So they're going to be implemented over several months, right? And so the first is the rehab of the units. So those things in yellow represent the rehab. So this big one is to hire a project management professional to manage the rehab and to build and implement the repositioning over 2 to 3 years. The other things in yellow are subtasks under that. And one of the things I want you to look at here is that the down units. So in this 4-building property, we have 8 down units, 5 in one building and 3 in another. So when we start, we are going to get everybody out of the building we're working on. And then we are going to fix that up and then rent those up. So in this first building, we have 5 of the 8 units down. So if you look at this, we have in buildings A through D, we have 8, 6, 6, and 8 units. And we're going to start out with building A. 5 of the 8 units are down, so we have to move 3 tenants. They can either move out, and we're going to send them you need to move kind of letters, or we can get them into one of our other vacant properties. We, in the building C, which has 3 down units, we just need to get them rentable. So we're not going to do all of the work. We're just going to fix them enough so that we can rent them and we can get some income coming in. All right. As we do this, as we rehab, we're going to do the roofs at the same time. We're going to update the common areas, washers, dryers, put storage in the basements, and plans for updating and upgrading the outside of the property. So all of those kind of fit into that strategic bucket. The second one is that this property did not have any kind of rental software. It had terrible business records. It didn't have any information about the upkeep of the units or maintenance of the units. There wasn't a website. There really wasn't any way to get work orders online. And there wasn't any way to do online payments. So that second big bucket is to fix the communication and the website kind of systems there. And that's going to take more than a month. And so all of those things in blue represent that. All right. So the third area, the third strategic area, was to look at the things that were in our business plan and to make sure we implement all of those things by the end of year 2. And those are the things that were geared to get us to 50% of collected rents at the end of 18 months. And so the things in green, right, are the things we need to do to address that. The things that are not colored are true tactical issues. They're things that we can probably do in a month or two. And so we just kind of start working through those. Now, what I want to show you next, I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to come back to this in a minute because I want to show you kind of the documents that we use or that I use to kind of make this work. Now, this is a template. And we'll send you this template. So anybody who's on the call tonight, James should have your email. And when he gets back from his birthday dinner, we'll send you this. There is nothing very special about this. I've just been using this for 20 years and it works. So it's simple. And if you have something that works better, more power to you. So what I do want to show you is that what I tried to set up here is that, for example, we're saying we actually bought this property in September of 19, but we're saying we're buying it in April of 24, right? And so I don't have anything really starting here for this first year until July. Because May and June, April, May, and June, I'm spending my time really trying to take a look at the property. We get people in, we get some of the critical things underway, and we build out the plan. So we start collecting rents, we get the people evicted that aren't paying, those kinds of things. So we're not doing anything extra in the first couple of months other than trying to get the property's running on time. Now, so when I'm setting up my plan, I'm going July through June, right? What I'm going to tell you is I have 3 strategies, and those strategies are going to all pull out for a year to 18 months to get all of that done. So if I was to go back and look at the other, and we'll come back to that, what we're going to do is that we are going to drop in those tasks on this or something similar to this, and then we're going to try and pinpoint when we think we could do that. So the other thing that this has that I like is that there is a tendency for new owners to basically just focus on the financial stuff to get money coming in. But if you want to have a well-managed, well-running property, you have to pay attention to things other than finances and cost. And that's why I've kind of built this out like this. So if you look at this, we have things that are financial, things that are improve income. So some of the things that are going to improve income are to get the collections, to get those units that are down, up, and rentable. The other financial things is what can I do to trim expenses? All right. I'm going to look at resident and service satisfaction. And some of that is just if they have, so a lot of these people, they would have try and get things fixed and nobody ever came to fix them. So your work order system can go in here. You can have other things that do a satisfaction survey, quality, safety, security. So life safety and security issues always come first in my book. You have to take care of those first and quickly because they are the last thing you want is somebody hurt. So some of the quality things are going that people want are to be able to put in work orders online. They want to be able to have a safe, maintained property or unit to live in. We have access and communication. That's our website, and we have our business and infrastructure. So that is for me to be able to run this property. I have to be able to have good information about collections. I have to have good information about how I'm spending money. I have to have QuickBook reports. So I have to have the things that allow me to run the business. So all I'm going to use this for is to take this, I'm going to stop sharing this and go back to my list. All right. So this list of 30 items is going to end up on this tactical plan. Even though some of these things are linked up with strategic things, I can still make sure that I am putting them on my tactical plan. And instead of just delineating it 1 month, it's going to be ongoing, for 12 months, 24 months, whatever it is, right? So for example, if I'm trying to think here, where new bail boxes, bill back, implement rubs. So one of the things that we noticed when we were there is that there were broken sidewalks that were trip hazards, the railings going up to the second floors. Either they were very loose or some of them weren't there. We had tree roots coming up. So those kind of fit into that safety. So those are some of the early things we're going to take care of, right? So wherever you're going to do this, but the key here is I have about 30 items on this list. Some of them are going to, like the washers and dryers and units, those are going to happen as we fix up the actual change up and reposition the entire building. So our goal was to, for example, do buildings A and C in year 1 with that 200,000 we're bringing in. And I will tell you factually, we didn't make that because we couldn't get people to come in and do the work during COVID. So we bought this at the end of 19, basically, and it took us until 24, so almost 4 years into 20. We finished up the end of 23, middle to the end of 23. So it took us about 3.5 years to get this done, right? But the key is that if I was putting this on my tactical plan, I would show washers and dryers every month out for those 2 to 3 years. But it's associated with one building at a time. So where I'm going with this is that as you're building this out, this is a 28 unit property. And so at best, you're going to have a part-time leasing agent. And you have to have somebody who can oversee a lot of this work to make sure it gets done. And a part-time leasing agent just can't do that. So one of our first things is that we were assigned a regional position. So one of our regional staff was put in the lead of this property for a couple of years to get this stuff done and to work with the on-site person, but to take care of a lot of this. And so that was one of the first things you end up doing. but you probably don't want people working on more than 2 to 3 things at a time, the area of focus, because their main job is to make the trains run on time. And this other stuff is extra work, and you're going to have to pay somebody to do that extra work. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you about with this. I want to just talk about these kinds of things. Basically, we have an online class that you can have forever access to. It has about 36 modules in it. It's about 60 hours of training. It covers finding your markets. How do you do the underwriting of a property? How do you do your due diligence? It talks about raising private money, managing property managers, and building and managing a business, a successful business. So it's all kind of in one site. If you want to know more about it, you can go to passivecashflowforlife.com. We were going to do on June 1st a webinar on trusts, land trust, but I think that's getting pushed back. One of our website crashed due to malware. And so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do that. But we do have an upcoming webinar. It's probably going to be mid to late June. And the other thing, whoops, I'm sorry, folks, is that if you have questions, you can send us an email at support@passivecashflowforlife.com. And all of our Teaching Tuesdays, we put up on our YouTube channel. And that's the YouTube channel address. And this class will be up on the YouTube channel by the end of this week. And you can also see the other 50 or so Teaching Tuesdays we've done. And there's a big playlist so you can see what the topics are if you want to learn more. And I guess at this point, I'm just going to kind of turn it over if anybody has any questions. We don't have a lot of people on this call. I think that we had a miscommunication with our VA, and I think she posted that it was talking about something other than this. So if you were expecting me to talk about something else, I apologize. But this was the one that I kind of had planned to do. And so hopefully we'll get everybody back on track. And so if you, we will be sending out the template that I showed you to everybody as just a benefit for being on this call. And if you can use it, great. And if you can't, that's fine too. It's the idea behind it that I think it's important, is trying to not do everything at once and to plan out what needs to get done when over, a year, 2 years, whatever your timeline is. So with that, let me open it up to questions. And thank you everybody for coming. Appreciate it very much. And we do have a small group, so I'm asking if people will please ask questions, and it doesn't have to be about this, it can be anything you want to talk about. Any comments?
Hey guys, this is a great opportunity. Nicole's given her time here. 30 some years experience or almost, and any question you have, I'll take advantage. Quiet crowd.
Quiet crowd.
It's been quiet on all our meetings. I don't know what's going on here.
There are no dumb questions. So we're actually trying to build a community where we talk to each other. So if you don't have questions about this, kind of let us know what you're working on or what you're trying to work on. If you have any deals in the pocket, if you have questions about potential deals. But please don't just stay and be quiet.
I have a random question.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my kid in the background. So I think you mentioned something about the community that wasn't happy when you're trying to like remodel the house. So like when it comes to trying to I guess balance like the median household household income to like what tenants or kind of like what you're trying to do, like how do you go about that, like with consideration of like, okay, this is what I should be expecting to be receiving based on like the national average of income or whatever, versus like, okay, I want to build this or this is what I want my property to generate. Is that like a thought that comes to your head?
Well, there's a lot kind of packed into that question. So across the country right now, I think everybody knows that rents have gone up so much in the last 2 years, is that housing is becoming more and more unaffordable, and more people are ending up homeless. That's leading to a lot of communities who are not very happy with us as property owners as we try and maximize our rents. And so the best I've tried to figure out is it, because it's not just rents that are going up. If it was, you could you wouldn't have to raise rents a lot. But the other thing that's going up really a lot are salaries, the cost of materials, insurance, taxes. All of those have gone up a lot, which now means that rents have to go up so you can afford to pay your bills and still have a little cash flow. So, kind of the best thing I have come up with is trying to meet with or talk with city leaders, the city managers, those kinds of things, about programs they may have that would help, that I could use to help people. I also try and keep my rents somewhat below what the average is in the area, as long as I have a reasonable cash flow that I can pay bills and still have a profit, because that tends to make it a little easier for people. They don't have to pay quite so much. B, they tend to not move. People tend to not move so much because they can't find anything um, of the same quality for less. In fact, we are generally less than most people. And it tends to keep city fathers focused on people who are charging more and more than me, that so that if I'm below the average, I am not their first target. So for me, it helps in a lot of ways because it decreases my turnover. It helps my residents who are paying my mortgage for me, and that may not be as much as they would like, but it helps some, and it helps a little bit with the affordability issue. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, not yeah, that helps. Thanks.
That was a good question, and it's really relevant right now.
I think even in single family, if we can just chime in a little bit, it's
Oh,
we
please.
we see the same thing with and some of it the landlords around here were just because nobody was paying during COVID, then that's when they started like, well, now we need to recoup some of that money. So they were raising prices, and they've got the rents. I mean, we keep saying that, how are people going to afford that? Two people working just kind of a normal working class job can't even, a family can't even afford the housing that's now up to 2,500, 2,800 for just, a two-bedroom, or, a small 3-1. So I think at some point something's got to give. And as long as you're making some, in Gary, Indiana, we try to keep our prices down, below what the what the average is, just to kind of, keep us in the ballpark where A, it's a nice house, B, it's a little lower, and C, they'll stay. So that's
And
kind of our
they
philosophy.
rent really quick. If your rents are a little bit lower than everybody else, you have your pick of a lot of people trying to get into it.
And
That's a
another
good
thing,
strategy.
in some other places, it's like a lot of the landlords don't even put appliances in their homes,
Yeah.
so we put appliances in ours, so that's another reason why people will choose our homes over other people. We keep the rent reasonable. And I remember you saying probably about 4 or 5 months ago that these landlords who set their rents up at the top of the market, they're going to have to hold steady for probably about 3 years without raising rents just to have everybody catch up. So it's like a catch-22 anyway to bring the rents all the way to the top of the market off the jump.
Yeah. Good points, everybody.
We
Other
also noticed,
questions?
oh, I'm sorry.
No, you were going to say something else, please.
I was just going to say, I also noticed another trend where everywhere more people are renting rooms in places, like rooms in the
Pad split.
pad split with the multifamily and the single family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. There's a lot of that going on here too. I mean, I'm outside of Washington, D.C., and the prices are just insane here. Probably not quite as bad as Florida, but it's just so there's a lot of people, a lot of families living in one house or one apartment or one townhouse or one house, and it's just I don't know what we're going to do long term, but we have to figure out what we're going to do about this because it's getting out of control for sure.
No doubt.
It sure is.
Other questions, please? Other comments?
This
Who
is
all have we
Emma.
got here? I'm going to stop sharing this and so I can see who's all here.
Go ahead, Emma. I think you had a question. You unmuted?
Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey,
Okay. Hi, just want to let you know that, I listened to your advice, Nicole's advice, especially, from one of the sessions the other week, and I, offered an anniversary gift to my tenants because they're so good and they were, really surprised, present way, of course. And, that's one other way to give back. And reward tenants that are good. When I renewed the lease.
great.
Just
Some
that
of
one
that,
little thing. Yep.
I heard a lot of feedback. So did you get that clearly, Jane? Could you I wasn't sure what all she said, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
she
got-
offered an anniversary present
Oh,
to
good for you.
and worked out well.
She followed your
Yay.
advice.
I actually paid their water bill.
Oh, wow. And I'll
Nice.
bet you they were tickled to death.
Yes, they were very, very happy about that. Unexpected, of course.
That's even a great idea, other than just a
Yeah.
gift card or something, paying a water bill.
That is
Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I was planning on giving them about $100, and that's how much the water bill was, so it worked out perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
That's
I wonder
great.
if that'll work for me, paying for my tenants to cut the backyard, which is now a jungle.
Good idea.
Right.
Well, one of the things we do, so we kind of try and balance carrots and sticks. And our lease pretty much says, if you don't keep up the lawn, the yard, that we will send our people in and we will add it to your rent. And so, because you start getting in trouble with the community if you don't take care of the property. But we will also offer to kind of routinely mow it. So average mowing, I don't know how big your backyard is, but mowing around here is for postage stamps things are, 40 to 50 bucks. And so we can send our maintenance people in for 15 to 20 because that's, we're paying 20 bucks an hour, 15 bucks an hour, something like that. And it doesn't take an hour to get the backyard of a postage stamp done. And so we'll just tell people that we will take care of your lawn care for an extra, $50, $80 a month if you would like to do that. because some people don't have mowers and trimmers and all that stuff, but, you know, and so it helps us and it helps them.
And it's funny, most landlords will actually charge them more. So if they have to come and cut it, they'll charge them 75 or 80 bucks
Yeah.
as kind of a punishment, as opposed to maybe charge them a little bit less. And
I like that
yeah,
idea. I like
good
your
idea.
idea.
So let me just be clear. So if we have to go in and because they don't want to take care of it and they don't want us to, we're going to charge them extra. But then we'll come back and say, if this is a problem for you, you know, we can do what we just charged you for one mowing. We can do this for a month for you, and we'll just add it to your rent. But we can't have this, and it's in our lease that it's another reason that we can evict if that isn't taken care of. So we also have not just non-payment, but also non-performance in leases. All right, other questions? Comments?
Great presentation.
Thank you, Nicole. I do appreciate your time that you take every Tuesday.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks you, Ioana. All right. Anything else from anybody? Tyler, anything from you? AC, Mark, Michael?
I don't have anything. Thanks, Nicole.
Oh, you betcha. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Hey, Nicole, can you talk a little bit about what you're gonna maybe talk about on the trust class? Which we're excited about. There's a lot of different things about trusts, and maybe some of the stuff you're gonna cover on your webinar when we have it.
Yeah, let me just kind of give me just 2 minutes so I can grab that because I've already got the slides done. So let me just see if I can find that.
I think there's so much misinformation out there, or sometimes we're all given just a little bit, enough to get us in trouble with a lot of different things. And trust is probably one of those things.
Yeah, I think that's so. Most people, when they talk about trusts, they talk about it in terms of it's a way of keeping, it's a way of protecting your property. It's a way of protecting your asset. But the truth is that it really only works for privacy. It doesn't have any kind of entity protection. So we're going to talk about how we do both privacy and entity protection. So how do we set that up so you have both? We're going to talk a little bit about kind of the definitions. Going to talk about land trusts and personal property trusts and the difference. And that's important because what most people think of as land trusts are in fact personal property trusts. And there's some differences in that a little bit that we need to talk about. We're going to talk about kind of the features. We're going to talk about the trust documents. We're going to talk about individual ownership versus multi-ownership of a trust. We're talking about trusts in IRAs, trusts in other kinds of kinds of structures. We're going to talk about how you can use a trust to avoid some marital issues. So a lot of people think if you are in a community property state, that your spouse automatically gets everything. And yet in most states, if you have something in a trust, you can avoid some of those requirements. It just have to be set up correctly. I don't know. We're going to talk about some of the how you have to fund trusts and how you can actually fund trusts the role of a trustee versus a beneficiary. If the beneficiary is a minor, how do you set that up so that somebody's looking out after the minor? So we're not talking about a lot of the more common things that people think about. We're going to try and take a little bit of a deep dive into trusts, at least a little bit more. We're going to talk a lot about beneficiaries. We're going to talk about putting them in LLCs versus corporation versus joint ventures. So there's some significant differences in some of these things that I think people just need to be aware of. I think those are kind of some of the highlights. Any other questions? Did that kind of answer that, Jane, a little bit?
Yeah, it did. And just so you guys know, I mean, there's classes out there for $5,000, and I know Nicole's not going to be anywhere near that, and it's going to be it's going to be a good learning thing. And with corporate transparency act
Transparency
and some
Act.
other things coming in, a lot of people are they don't know about that and how trust plays into that. So it's going to be a lot of good information. We're excited about that one because I'm sure we need to touch up on some stuff.
I appreciate you asking that question. I think we have time for one more question if anybody has a question. If not, I'm going to turn it over to Jane and Sharon for the bring your deal. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you would like to hear us talk about, please put them into the chat box or someplace else, because I'm always looking for topics to talk about. Kind of after a year, I've kind of run out of ideas a little bit. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And I'm turning it over. I'm going to mute myself and I'm turning it over to Jane and Sharon.